Hello, this is Steve. I'm back again. Just want to do another video. Um, this time uh, I called it "Can the Government Run Social Programs Like Medicare for All and UBI?" Now, in the '90s, I don't know. I guess I could consider myself a libertarian, and the thing that I noticed nowadays, and actually I didn't notice it then as much, but I did kind of in the back of my mind always think this that we're always there's a lot of libertarian, even though they're mean well, they have argument style where they use false premises and fake arguments constantly. And an example of that, um, well, one thing that they do is anything that helps people, they're constantly saying, "Oh, that's socialism, socialism, socialism," and socialism is a bad word. So, in other words, um, you say a program that helps people, they say, "Oh, socialism, therefore bad, therefore can't do it," right? Um, but you'll talk to the same exact people, and you'll be, "Oh, give money to oligarchs," and they'll never say that's socialism. And a matter of fact, they'll flip it on its head, and far from it being a bad thing, they say, "Oh, that's actually saving the economy." That's like the greatest thing. So that's kind of why I'm not a libertarian today. And I don't just want to say libertarian. This is kind of like across the board, really. I mean, um, this mindset, you could call it capitalist mindset, free market mindset, whatever, is just saturated for practically everybody across the board. It's not just libertarian. It's neocons, neoliberals, everybody. They because we're obviously the oligarchs own all the media, they own all the TV shows. Every single thing you're going to see is on the news or on movies or on whatever is going to be saying, oh, how great the economy is and this and that. So another fake false premise they use, they'll say, okay, everything government does is shit. Now they just take that at face value. They just make that claim, even though um, I'll talk about that later. That it's a false premise. Then they say, okay, so if government takes over medical care, it'll be shit. So those are the two premises which actually create their own conclusion. I mean, they're kind of a self-fulfilling thing there. It's like an argument, circular logic, you might call it. But here's the thing, and this is what people like Andrew Yang and other people have given this argument, and this is the argument that really, I mean, if you're for UBI, for Medicare for All, for any type of program that you want the government to take care of, you need to focus on this and not let them use these false premises and these fake arguments to justify not doing something. Um, the argument that I heard Andrew Yang make with, and here's the funny part: Andrew Yang was talking to, oh my God, I forgot his name. Um, anyway, and this guy's a complete libertarian, Jewish guy. Oh, I can't believe I forgot his name. But anyway, let's move on. Anyway, he was making good arguments with him, and he had him convinced that the UBI was a good thing, and every argument that was thrown across, he kind of blew it out of the water. Matter of fact, he talked to several different people in the beginning, and here's one of his things that he said. He said the government, even though they say the government can't do anything, and actually Andrew Yang also allows them to have that argument that, oh, just government can't do it. Where here's the bottom line about that argument. That argument is ridiculous. If you have bad, corrupt people in government or in private sector, they're going to do bad, corrupt stuff. If you have good, honest people in government or in private sector, they are probably going to do good, honest stuff. Even though, just keep in mind, anybody can be corrupted. Anybody can be either bought, blackmailed, threatened, or just killed if they don't go along with the oligarch. So in other words, it's very hard to stay as a good person. So anybody that's hoping for like a single person or one good person or whatever just to be able to do stuff, that ain't gonna happen. We got the real thing. Everybody needs to band together and then come up with some ideas and then move them forward. But I'm getting distracted on my point here. My point is that what Andrew Yang mentioned to I can't remember. Anyway, he said that the government is fantastic at cutting checks. Okay, even if you say the government can't do anything else, there's nobody that can deny that they're good at cutting checks. Okay, so everybody that's receiving Social Security has no problem. Everybody that's receiving Medicare payments, the checks are going out. I mean, when they pay for the oligarchs saving the economy, so-called, those checks are going out. When I was in the Army, man, I never had a problem getting a check. Now, ever since I've been out of the Army and in the private sector, I have had employers who have ripped me off, who have not paid, who have paid late, who have reduced the payments, who have come up with every conceivable way of ripping me off, okay? And my government payments, I never had a problem. Matter of fact, they'd always go up, up, up. That paid every month. So in other words, if you could say government could do one thing, it's cutting checks. Okay. Anybody that says they can't cut checks, all right, you're just lying. Okay, flat out. So this is the point that we need to. If you're a Medicare for all or UBI proponent, and you got all these people coming at you with all these excuses and stuff, you need to just focus on this one point. All we're asking the government to do is cut the checks, period. They're going to send out the checks. They're going to pay us the UBI. They're going to pay us the Medicare for all. They're going to pay the medical providers. That's it. We're not asking them to do anything else, okay? So if that should shut down every single argument right there. So, and the other thing is that it's not a medical takeover. It's literally now. Cutting checks is one thing. The second aspect, which will come into play, is to reduce the costs because the costs are outrageous. So in other words, if the government, and now government can also do this piece of it, they can reduce the cost or make the cost at least reasonable. Since they're cutting all the checks, they're going to be able to do that. Now, all the middlemen. See, this is the reason why we don't have universal Medicare care, or we don't have a single payer system in the United States, is because there's a lot of capitalism is based on middlemen. Okay, salesmen and middlemen is what I call them, and all these middlemen are getting paid. Okay, they don't do anything. There is nothing that a middleman in capitalism is doing. I mean, even if you take it down to the lowest level of some dude buying something from somebody at a low price and reselling it to somebody else at a higher price, that dude didn't add any value to that product, okay? That dude just found something that someone else was willing to receive less money for, and then went ahead and sold it to somebody else for more money than that, okay? That's a middleman, okay? All this middleman stuff, this is capitalism is based on. It's like all it is middlemen, right? I mean, if you were to just minimize, and this is the interesting thing about all of the whole system, free market, capitalism, whatever, if we eliminate all these middlemen, the cost of everything would be so small that we could pay for every possible thing we need. And then automation comes into play and other things, and I'll get to that later. But anyway, as far as Medicare for all and UBI, it's just cutting checks and then controlling costs. That's it. So means testing, and here's the other thing that you hear people bring up: means testing. Oh, no. Why should we give rich people $1,000 a month, or why should we give them medical care if they can pay for it? You know, when people say this, they're lying. Okay, that's not even a true argument. They're just making that completely up out of thin air. They don't give a shit about millionaires getting extra money. They give millionaires billions of dollars. You think they give a shit about? No. This argument is designed as an excuse to not do the system. It's just a bullshit excuse. And means testing, the thing about means testing is what they want to do is they want to make you beg for it, okay? Or in other words, the people that are poor or whatever are the people that actually need the money for UBI or Medicare for All or whatever, or food stamps, whatever you want to call it. It used to be called welfare. They want you to beg for it. They want you to come to somebody, have to bow down and beg somebody. But you know what? Even if you're a libertarian, having to bow down and beg to people, or having to add an extra level of bureaucracy that you have to go through, it's just easier to pay everybody. Just pay everybody. UBI or Medicare for All, just pay it out, okay? Just cut checks. Let the government cut the checks and reduce the costs of stuff, and then don't do anything else, okay? So that's the libertarian argument. So when they bring up means testing, they're just lying, okay? They're just making it up. So I think that's probably about all I can talk about that. Now I did want to go into